Subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts. The room where secrets slept. The machines hummed their usual rhythm, a sterile symphony of beeps and whirs in a private hospital room no one visited anymore. The air was cold, heavy with antiseptic, and the scent of stillness that clung to dying places. Amelia Torres dipped the sponge into warm, soapy water, her gloved hands practiced and gentle. She was halfway through washing Gregory Hale's right arm when she realized the air had changed, not in temperature, in presence. It was the way the silence bent around her, the way the back of her neck prickled like someone was watching her. She glanced up and her heart stopped. The Tycoon's eyes were open. They weren't flickering or rolling back in some involuntary reflex. They were focused, fixed, alive, and they were staring straight at her. She dropped the sponge, water splashing onto her scrubs and the linoleum floor. Her breath caught somewhere between her chest and throat, refusing to rise. "Mr. Hale?" she whispered, too stunned to move. "You... Amelia." She staggered back. That was her name. He'd said her name. Her knees hit the edge of a nearby chair, nearly knocking it over as she caught herself. Gregory Hale had been in a coma for 9 years. Not a vegetative state, not some semi-conscious twilight. A deep, neurologically silent coma, induced after a fire tore through his estate, nearly burning him alive and killing his wife. He hadn't spoken a word, not even twitched. Until now. He blinked once, slowly, as if the weight of each eyelid was too much to carry. "Where is my son?" The words were gravelly, like they were scraped from the bottom of a long-forgotten well. But they were unmistakable, real, meant. Amelia's mind was racing, searching for logic, for protocol, for any explanation. This couldn't be happening. He remembered something. Someone. His son. She forced her voice to work. You're awake. I have to get the doctor." "No," he rasped, his voice harsh and shaking. "Not yet." Amelia froze. Her heart was pounding like a war drum now, blood rushing to her ears. She glanced at the heart monitor beside his bed. His vitals were spiking but still steady. This was real. She wasn't imagining it. "You remember the fire?" she asked cautiously. Gregory's lips twitched, like he wanted to nod but couldn't. "Not all bits, smoke, heat, my wife screaming." Then silence. His voice cracked. "And my son, he was crying. Then someone took him." "Took him?" Amelia repeated. "You think someone—" "I know it." His eyes were sharper now, glowing with something raw and dangerous. "They didn't just want to kill me. They wanted to erase me." He turned his head slightly, wincing as his muscles fought against years of disuse. "They thought I wouldn't remember, that I wouldn't wake up." "Who?" she asked, breath shallow. "Who's they?" But his strength was fading fast. The adrenaline that had jolted him awake seemed to be leaking out of his veins. He coughed, weakly now, his body surrendering to exhaustion. Amelia leaned in. "Please, Mr. Hale, Gregory, tell me what you know." His hand jerked, barely lifting from the sheet, and she instinctively grabbed it. His skin was warm, too real, too human for a man who'd been frozen in time for nearly a decade. "Don't tell anyone," he whispered. "Not yet, not them." Who do you mean?" she insisted. But his eyes fluttered, rolling back slightly as his grip loosened. "Gregory," she said, her voice rising, "stay with me." With one last breath, he exhaled a sentence that would haunt her. "They burned us alive." Then silence. The kind that echoed, the kind that felt like a threat. His body slackened, but he didn't slip back into a coma. Not fully, just sleep. As if every cell had collapsed under the weight of waking up. Amelia sat there, gripping the edge of the bed, her pulse galloping through her neck. 9 years of silence. 9 years of doctors calling him a lost cause. 9 years of her reading to him in soft Spanish lullabies, washing his skin, trimming his beard, pretending he could hear her out of kindness. Out of duty, he had heard her, he knew her name, and now he'd warned her. Her hands were trembling. She peeled off her gloves, her stomach churning. She should report it. Immediately. That's what the manual said. If a coma patient awakens, the attending physician must be informed, but his words kept playing in her mind. Don't tell anyone, not yet. They burned us alive. What if he was right? What if someone had tried to murder him? What if they succeeded in every way but one? She took a step toward the door, her mind still racing. 9 years ago, the story made headlines. Real estate tycoon's mansion burns in tragic fire. Wife dead, Hale in coma, son missing. But the media moved on. There were no suspects, no arrests, and no one ever found the boy, just assumed he'd died in the flames. But now Gregory Hale said someone took him. That changed everything. Amelia stepped into the hallway and immediately regretted it. 2 security officers were walking past, chatting, casually. She smiled tightly and nodded, walking the opposite way. She couldn't tell them, not yet, not until she knew more. She needed time, just a little time to process what had happened. She walked into the staff break room and nearly collapsed into a chair, her head in her hands. Her coffee sat cold and untouched on the table. Why me, she thought. Why did he wake up when I was alone? And what did he mean by them? A knock on the glass startled her. Dr. Lena Morell stood outside, her expression neutral as always. Amelia opened the door. "You're 15 minutes over your break," Lena said casually. "You okay?" Amelia forced a smile. "Yeah, just a rough morning. Lost track of time." Mr. Hale still stable. A pause, then, "Yes. No changes." Lena nodded. "If he goes, he'll probably just slip quietly. No suffering. That's what the new neurologist said." Amelia nodded again, her throat dry. Right. But something in Lena's eyes made her stomach twist. It was too calm, too scripted, like she already knew something was going to happen. That night, Amelia sat alone on the edge of her small apartment bed, the city humming outside her window. The lights of passing cars danced across the wall, but all she could think about were his eyes, awake, alert, terrified. She pulled out an old newspaper clipping from the bottom of her drawer. She'd kept it, not because she was obsessed, but because it felt unfinished. Gregory Hale's wife had died instantly. His son's body was never found. They'd said he was likely vaporized in the flames, but Gregory hadn't believed that, and now neither did she. She reread the names mentioned in the article. Business partners, board members, old enemies. Was one of them they? Was Lena one of them? Her phone buzzed suddenly, jerking her from the thought. It was a text from a blocked number. "Don't trust anyone at the hospital. Not even the ones who smile." Amelia's blood turned cold. She stood slowly, walking to the window, her breath fogging the glass. In the distance, a black SUV was idling across the street. It had no plates. He was never meant to wake up. The black SUV was gone by morning, as if it had never been there. No tire marks, no cameras nearby, just that sinking feeling in Amelia's gut that someone had watched her all night, making no move, just waiting. She didn't sleep. Her eyes were puffy, her hands shaking slightly. As she poured her coffee in the break room the next day, every shadow felt like a threat. Every glance from a co-worker made her heart beat faster. She told herself she was being paranoid, until she walked into Gregory Hale's room. The bed was empty. For a long second, her mind couldn't make sense of what she was seeing. The sheets were stripped, the machines unplugged. Even the faint smell of antiseptic was gone, replaced with something colder, like metal and secrets. She turned around, nearly bumping into Nurse Claudia. "Where's Mr. Hale?" Amelia asked, voice tight. Claudia blinked. "Discharged. Early. This morning." "Discharged," Amelia repeated. "Are you serious?" Claudia frowned. Didn't Lena tell you? No, Amelia snapped. She didn't. Who approved it? Claudia checked her tablet. Transfer to a private recovery clinic, all cleared by Dr. Morell and the board. You weren't on shift, so maybe that's why you didn't get the memo. Amelia clenched her jaw. I was on shift. No one said anything, not even Lena. Claudia shrugged. Not our business anymore. Lucky guy, though, surviving 9 years just to get scooped up by the rich folks again. But Amelia wasn't convinced. It wasn't just the suddenness, it was the silence. Gregory had spoken. He remembered something, and now he was gone before anyone else could confirm it. He wasn't moved. He was silenced. She waited until lunchtime, then walked straight into Dr. Morrell's office without knocking. Lena looked up from her computer, calm as ever. Something urgent? Yes, Amelia said, shutting the door behind her. Gregory. Hale woke up yesterday. He spoke to me. Lena didn't blink. That's a serious claim. It happened. He said someone took his son. He said not to trust anyone. Her voice cracked, full of raw truth. Lena leaned back slowly. Did anyone else witness it? No, Amelia admitted, just me. But he said my name. He knew, and now he's gone. Lena's eyes were ice. Do you know how that sounds, Amelia? I don't care. How it sounds, she shot back. I care that he might be in danger, that someone might have wanted him dead and still does. Lena folded her hands. He's in recovery. That's all you need to know. You're not assigned to his case anymore. So, you're just going to pretend nothing happened? Amelia asked, stepping forward. You believe he was in a coma for 9 years and then just walks out and no one thinks to investigate? Lena stood now, her voice suddenly colder. If you keep pushing this, Amelia, you'll lose more than just your shift. Amelia froze. Is that a threat? Lena smiled faintly. It's advice. By the end of the day, Amelia's access to Gregory Hale's digital medical records had been revoked. Her ID badge no longer unlocked certain corridors. Her usual night shift was reassigned to the pediatric floor without explanation. It was clear someone powerful was burying this fast. But why? That night she made a decision. She pulled out the old newspaper article again, the one with the yellowed headline, Billionaire's Tragic Blaze, Gregory Hale in coma, wife dead, son missing. She circled the names of board members listed at the time. She would start there. She found one, Daniel Mercer, former CFO of Hale Group, now semi-retired, living just outside the city. She called him, pretending to be a freelance journalist working on a recovery miracle piece about Gregory. She didn't use her real name. To her surprise, he agreed to meet. The cafe was nearly empty. Mercer sat in a corner booth, grey-haired, sharp-eyed, his expensive watch glinting under the dim lights. You're younger than I expected, he said, sipping his tea. Amelia smiled awkwardly. I like digging into stories people forget. He studied her. Hale's recovery is news, sure, but that fire, that's a graveyard of secrets. Be careful where you dig. What do you mean? She asked gently. Daniel's eyes darkened. Gregory Hale was brilliant but stubborn. He didn't just make enemies in business. He made them in blood. There were rumors, internal betrayals. Someone funneled millions out of the company 6 months before the fire. Gregory was about to name names. And then his house burned down. Amelia asked, convenient timing, isn't it? Mercer nodded. Only his wife was home that night. Security system was disabled. Fire alarms never triggered. His son, well, that part never made sense. You think someone took him? She whispered. I think someone wanted Gregory destroyed. And when the coma didn't finish the job, they made sure his legacy died too. No wife, no son, no truth. Amelia leaned forward. If Gregory remembered something now, if he could name names, who would be scared? Mercer hesitated. Most of them are gone, except one. Who? He looked around, then slid a name across a napkin. Julian Cross, Gregory's old lawyer, Mercer said, and the one man who knew everything, including the safe houses, the backup files, the non-disclosure skeletons. He dropped off the map 2 years ago, but if Gregory is awake, I promise you, Julian will be watching or hiding. Amelia took the name home, her thoughts racing. She ran a few searches, but Julian's digital footprint had almost vanished. He was either dead or running from someone bigger than death. By midnight, she was pacing her apartment, trying to decide what to do next, when her phone rang. Blocked. Number, she hesitated, then answered. The voice was masked, mechanically distorted. He woke up. That wasn't supposed to happen. Amelia's blood ran cold. Who is this? Stop digging, Amelia. You were just a nurse. Go back to being one. Is Gregory alive? Did you move him? What do you want from him? She snapped. Silence. Then a soft click. Call ended. She stared at her phone. Her hands trembling. They knew her name, her phone number, her involvement. They were watching. The next day she visited her grandmother's house across the city, partly for comfort, partly for cover. The moment she walked in, her abuela saw it on her face. Something dark follows you, Nina, the old woman whispered. What have you brought into this house? Secrets, Amelia whispered, and I don't know if they'll ever leave. Her abuela lit candles, whispered blessings, rubbed her wrists with rosemary and salt water. But nothing calmed Amelia's mind. She sat in the spare room, staring out at the rain, when her phone pinged again. One new voicemail, no number. She hit play. This time it wasn't a threat, it was a recording, a man's voice. Gregory's. I don't have much time. If you're hearing this, it means they took me. Or worse. Go to the vault under the garden stones. My son, he's not dead. His name is Bzizit, static, cut off just like that. Amelia sat frozen. A vault, a name, a real clue. She replayed it again and again, trying to hear the last word, trying to find the missing pieces. But the message was corrupted. They'd cut him off. She remembered reading once that the Hales had a countryside retreat, long abandoned after the fire. Maybe the vault was there. Maybe the truth had been buried with Gregory's silence. Until now. She packed a bag. She wasn't waiting anymore. She was going to the Hale estate. She would find that vault, and she would uncover whatever truth they burned the world to hide. Cliffhanger recap. Gregory Hale is suddenly discharged under suspicious circumstances. Amelia begins her own investigation, uncovering signs of betrayal and erasure. A recording from Gregory reveals a vault containing the truth and a clue about his son's fate. Amelia makes the bold decision to go to the Hale estate to find it, the vault beneath the ashes. The gates to the Hale estate stood like iron teeth, rusted, padlocked, and half swallowed by wild ivy. They hadn't been opened in years. Amelia stared at them through her windshield as wind howled across the countryside, carrying leaves and broken branches like whispers of the past. She hadn't told anyone where she was going. She'd left her phone at her grandmother's, powered off. What she carried now was a cheap burner with no apps, just an audio file, Gregory's distorted, half-erased voice urging her toward the truth. She hadn't heard from the masked caller again, but she could feel them watching. She parked a half-mile down the road and hiked through the overgrown trail to reach the side of the property, climbing the stone wall with her knees scraped and her heart pounding. Inside, nature had swallowed the remains of power. The once grand estate was gutted by fire and time, collapsed roofs, blackened beams, vines choking marble columns. The scent of ash still clung to the soil, like even the earth hadn't forgotten what had happened here. Amelia moved cautiously, flashlight in one hand, pepper spray in the other. The garden lay silent under a grey sky, an expanse of cracked stone tiles and half-dead hedges. And there, just as the voicemail had said, was the old koi pond, empty now, a pit of leaves and algae. She walked its perimeter, tapping the stones with her boot. 3 short taps. One sounded different, hollow. She dropped to her knees, clearing away leaves and dirt. Her fingers scraped against cold metal, a square panel bolted into the ground with a rusted handle. She yanked once, twice. On the third pull it creaked open with a groan, revealing a narrow spiral staircase beneath. It led underground. She hesitated only a second before descending, each step echoed with dread. At the bottom was a steel door with a biometric lock, dead now, without power. But next to it, embedded in the wall, was a manual keyhole. Gregory had planned for both. She used the emergency crowbar she'd brought and forced it open with sheer will, her hands bleeding slightly. The door gave way, and what she saw inside made her heart stop. Rows of filing cabinets, old monitors, stacks of hard drives, paper files, encrypted ledgers. A bunker built to remember what someone had tried so hard to erase. She pulled the first file, Hale Foundation, Project Calyx. Another, Julian Cross, Witness Relocation. Another, Gavin Hale, DNA Records, age 3. Her breath caught. Gavin, his son, he had survived. She opened the folder. Inside was a photo, blurry, taken from a hospital security cam. A boy with Gregory's eyes and a deep scar on his left wrist. Below it, a scribbled note in Gregory's handwriting. They said he died in the fire. But I saw the footage. Someone took him. Someone paid Julian. They erased him, but I will find him. Amelia sat back on her heels, hands shaking. All this time, Gregory hadn't been delusional. He'd been silenced, and Julian Cross had helped hide his son. She pulled out a flash drive, loaded it with everything she could from the working terminals, and snapped pictures of the files. She didn't hear the footsteps until it was too late. Clack. The unmistakable sound of a gun cocking echoed behind her. "Stand up, slowly," a cold voice ordered. She turned. A man in his late 40s, clean-cut, emotionless. Black gloves, silencer on the pistol. No badge, no name tag. "Who sent you?" he asked. "No one," she said carefully. "I'm just a nurse." He didn't smile. "Nurses don't break into locked vaults and extract classified evidence." "You work for Julian Cross?" she asked, stalling. "I clean messes," he said flatly. "And you're about to become one." Amelia's heart thundered. "Gregory's alive." "Not for long," he said. "And if you keep pushing, neither are you." Just then, boom! A noise echoed above, a burst of chaos. Then a voice shouted down the stairs. "Backup's not coming. We cut the line. Someone else was here." The man flinched, distracted just long enough for Amelia to throw the pepper spray straight at his face. He fired, too late. The bullet shattered the monitor behind her. She ducked and ran, heart hammering, grabbing the flash drive. As she dove for the spiral stairs, more footsteps, shouting, men yelling to secure the girl. She didn't look back. She just ran out of the vault, across the cracked garden, through the broken hallway and out the side of the house, breath burning her lungs. A black SUV blocked the main path, but she didn't stop. She dove through hedges, into the woods. She didn't stop running until she reached the highway. It took her 2 days to sort the files on the flash drive, hidden now at her grandmother's. She slept in the attic, phone off, blinds closed. Each file opened more questions. Gregory had been tracking his son's location for years. DNA clinics, private schools, a photo from a mall in Ontario, dated 4 years ago. And every lead had been quietly buried. Whoever had taken Gavin had resources and the power to erase paper trails, suppress databases, and kill inquiries. But there was one anomaly. A safe deposit box registered in Gavin's name, opened just 6 months ago. Location, Toronto. She had a new target. She booked a train. The Toronto bank looked ordinary from the outside. Clean glass, automatic doors, quiet staff. Amelia waited in line, stomach tight. When her turn came, she leaned in. "I need to check on box 2311, she said. "My cousin opened it, but he's unreachable." The clerk frowned. "That box was flagged last week for legal hold." "I'm sorry." "Why?" she asked quickly. "Is Gavin Hale in some kind of trouble?" The clerk blinked. Who? The name tied to the box. Gavin Hale, she said. The clerk glanced at the screen, then leaned closer. There's no such name linked to 2311. You must be mistaken. Amelia froze, another erased record. But as she turned to leave, she noticed something, a man in the lobby watching her, not moving, not banking, just standing. She walked faster. Outside, the man followed. She ducked into a bookstore, pretending to browse. 5 minutes 10. He waited by the window. She slipped out the back alley, took a taxi to a bus station instead of the hotel. Someone had tracked her again. She needed help, but there was only one person left who might still care enough, and who knew enough: Julian Cross. She still had one blurry lead, a hospital intake form signed by him years ago under an alias. One of the addresses was in Vancouver. She had no idea if it was real, but she had nothing else. By the time she reached Vancouver, the rain hadn't stopped. Cold, endless, like the story itself. She found the apartment building from the old document. Apartment 4C, 3rd floor. No name on the buzzer. She knocked, no answer. She tried again, harder, still nothing. She turned to leave, then heard it, a lock sliding. The door opened a sliver, and there he was, Julian Cross, older, thinner, haunted. He stared at her, then slowly opened the door all the way. I've been waiting for someone, he said, but not you. I'm here for Gregory, she said, and his son. Julian didn't move. That story's dead. Let it die. He's alive, she said, and he remembers. Julian went pale. He sent me, she added, voice breaking, and I think they're coming for both of us. He stepped back, then nodded once. Then you'd better come in. Cliffhanger. Recap. Amelia discovers a hidden vault beneath. The Hale estate containing proof that Gregory's son is alive and that Julian Cross helped hide him. But she's ambushed by a mysterious agent and barely escapes with her life. After tracking down leads across Toronto and Vancouver, Amelia finally finds Julian. And now he has a choice. Reveal the full truth or die with it. Julian's confession. The moment Amelia stepped into Julian's apartment, she felt the weight of something ancient settle around her shoulders. The blinds were drawn tight, the air smelled of old paper and burnt coffee, walls lined with books, a laptop blinking on standby, 2 padlocked file boxes under the desk, and a single photo in a cracked frame. Gregory Hale, younger, laughing, holding a baby with mismatched socks. Is that Gavin? She asked softly. Julian didn't respond right away. He poured himself a glass of something dark, scotch or regret, and sank into the frayed couch across from her. He looked exhausted. Not from lack of sleep, but from running too long, carrying too much. I told Gregory to forget, he said, voice low, but he never could. Because they told him his son burned to death, Amelia said, sitting across from him. And you knew that wasn't true. Julian's jaw tightened. They threatened to kill him. And Gavin, and me. Amelia leaned forward. Then tell me everything, because someone just tried to kill me for the truth. Julian took a slow breath, then nodded. It started 23 years ago. Gregory was about to expose a multinational corruption deal involving medical patents, bribery and illegal testing. Names you'd recognize. Corporate leaders, politicians, military advisors. It wasn't just about money. It was control, and Gregory found out. What kind of testing? Amelia asked, afraid she already knew. Gene therapy trials on children, Julian whispered. Children with no legal guardians. Children bought off black market orphanages overseas. Some were sick, some weren't. Amelia felt sick. You were part of it. I was paid to stay silent, Julian said bitterly. But Gregory, he couldn't. He told me about Gavin being born, how it changed him. He wanted to dismantle the system and go public. But then the fire happened, Amelia said. The one that killed his wife and son. Julian nodded. Except they weren't in the fire. Amelia's eyes widened. His wife had been blackmailed into a Private deal to leave with Gavin, Julian explained. They faked her death, but someone intercepted her at the airport, took Gavin, killed her, burned the bodies of 2 others in their place. Amelia felt her stomach drop. Gregory never knew, Julian whispered. He found a child's tooth in the rubble, assumed the worst. The grief nearly destroyed him. And all this time, she murmured, her voice cracking, Gavin was out there, moved from one foster identity to another, given a new name. Watched like a lab rat by the people Gregory tried to expose. And when Gregory got too close, when he started connecting dots again, they sedated him, forced the coma through drug manipulation after a staged stroke. The hospital covered it up. Amelia stared at him, horrified. They used me. I was part of the team caring for him. Julian's eyes softened. Then you were the only thing keeping him alive. Silence swelled between them. I don't know who the leader is now, Julian admitted. They've buried the names, but I've kept something, the one thing they never found. He got up, crossed the room and pulled out the 2 locked boxes beneath his desk. From inside the first, he retrieved a battered leather journal, Gregory's handwriting. I made a copy of his entries before they wiped his records, Julian said. In it, he mentioned something called the Iris Protocol. That was the name of the medical testing program. What were they testing? Amelia asked, opening the journal. Genetic control. They were trying to create a biologically guided influence, a way to suppress aggression, amplify obedience, or trigger mental shutdowns using tailored biochemical signatures. Her hands trembled. Gavin, was he part of it? Julian hesitated. Yes, he said at last, but he was resistant. That's why they kept him alive. Suddenly the apartment lights flickered. Julian froze. They've found us, he whispered. Before he could finish, the window shattered. A canister rolled across the floor. Gas. Julian shoved Amelia toward the back hallway. There's an escape. Stairwell in the laundry room. Go! Amelia ran, coughing, tears in her eyes as smoke filled her lungs. Behind her, Julian pulled open a floor panel and dropped the file boxes into it, locking it shut. She heard gunshots, then silence. She didn't turn back. The stairwell spat her out 2 blocks away behind a boarded-up pharmacy. She stumbled out, face wet from tears and gas. A motorcycle helmet landed at her feet. Get on, a voice shouted. It was Luca, Gregory's old security detail, the man she'd only seen in photos. I got Julian's signal 10 minutes ago, he said, revving. The engine. You're lucky you're still breathing. She clung to him as they tore through traffic, her brain spinning with everything she'd just heard. They ditched the bike and changed clothes at a safe house, a dusty studio apartment with 3 locks on the door and no internet. Luca handed her a drive. Julian sent me this last week, said to only give it to you if he disappeared. She plugged it in. Inside was a single folder. For Gavin, the truth, videos, reports, DNA sequences, a list of names, and a scanned birth certificate. Name Elias Monroe, mother unknown, father Gregory Hale, alias Gavin Hale. She covered her mouth. Elias Monroe. The same name Gregory had muttered the day he woke up. Gavin's alive, she whispered, and he's in Montreal. They arrived at a small bookstore near the university campus. Amelia's heart raced. The photo in Julian's file had shown a young man working at the register, glasses, quiet demeanor, 23 years old. Luca stayed outside watching the street. She stepped inside. There he was, stacking books on a high shelf. Gavin or Elias? He turned, and their eyes met. Amelia froze. He looked exactly like Gregory. Can I help you? He asked, confused but kind. She stepped closer, voice trembling. You don't know me, but I knew your father. He blinked. My father. Gregory Hale, she said. He's alive, and you're not who they told you you are. Gavin stepped back. Is this a joke? No, she said. They lied to you. Your mother died trying to save you. Your father spent 20 years trying to find you, and he's awake now, but they're going to kill him if we don't do something. His hands trembled. I have proof, she said, holding out the USB. He didn't move for a moment. Then slowly he took it. Meet me tonight, she said. You don't have to believe me now, but read what's on that drive. And if you feel something, anything, come to the old port, Pier 9 by midnight. She turned and walked away. By 11:55 p.m., it was raining hard. Amelia stood on the pier, cold and soaked, heartbreaking. Maybe it had all been for nothing. Then footsteps. She turned. Gavin stood there, soaking, silent, crying. I remember the fire, he whispered. I used to think it was a dream. It wasn't, she said. I remember a man's voice, yelling my name. Then I woke up somewhere else, new people, new name, and I was never allowed to ask questions. He looked at her. Is he really alive? Yes. He nodded slowly. Then let's finish what they started, he said, but neither of them noticed the red laser dot that landed on Gavin's chest until it was too late. A shot rang out. Gavin collapsed. Blood spread across the dock. Amelia screamed, and, from the shadows, a masked figure stepped forward. She recognized him, the agent from the vault. Only this time he took off his mask and whispered, "It's not over. Not yet." Cliffhanger recap. Julian reveals that Gavin never died and that he was part of a horrifying medical experiment. After Julian's death, Amelia and Luca track down Gavin, now living as Elias Monroe. Just as he begins to accept the truth, he's shot on the pier, but the assassin delivers a chilling message. It's not over. The blood wasn't his. The scream tore out of Amelia's throat before she even hit her knees beside Gavin's body. Blood poured from his chest. His eyes were wide, blinking in disbelief, lips trembling with words he couldn't form. Rain masked her tears, but not the panic crashing through her like a freight train. "No, no, no! Stay with me!" Luca came running from behind the crates, gun drawn, but the shooter was already gone, vanished like a ghost. Only his voice echoed behind. "It's not over." Luca scanned the rooftops, cursed, then dropped beside Amelia. He reached for Gavin's neck, feeling, then froze. "Wait," he said. "He's breathing." "What?" Amelia gasped. Luca yanked open Gavin's coat and shirt. Beneath the blood was a shattered vest, thin body armor. The bullet had hit but hadn't gone through. "The blood's from the shoulder," Luca said. "It's bad, but not fatal." Gavin groaned. "I thought I was dead," he whispered, trying to sit up. "You almost were," Amelia said, hugging him tight. "But you're not, and now they know you're alive." Luca's phone buzzed. He answered, listened for 5 seconds, then hung up. "That was Gregory's contact at the safe house," Luca said. "Someone breached it 20 minutes ago." Amelia's stomach twisted. "Is he—" "Gone," Luca said. "Escaped, barely." "Where is he now?" Luca looked at Gavin. "He wants to meet his son." They relocated to an old railway yard on the edge of town. Abandoned for years, the metal containers offered just enough privacy for a quick reunion and a war room. Gregory sat in a folding chair when they arrived, face pale, hands trembling. But the moment Gavin stepped into the container, the old Tycoon stood up, father and son, face to face. For the first time, no words, just tears. Gregory walked forward and touched Gavin's face, as if trying to memorize every feature time had stolen. "You're alive," he whispered. "So are you," Gavin said, voice breaking. They collapsed into each other's arms, and for a moment there were no schemes or conspiracies, just a father holding the boy he thought he'd buried 2 decades ago. "I'm sorry," Gregory choked. "I wasn't there to protect you." "You tried," Gavin said. "They lied to both of us. They sat together for over an hour, piecing together the fragments. Gavin's years in hidden group homes, Gregory's failed attempts at exposure, Julian's sacrifice. Amelia watched quietly, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the moment. Then Luca came in with a satellite phone and 2 burner devices. "You all need to hear this," he said. He put the phone on speaker. An automated voice played a short, grainy audio clip. "The Iris protocol is still active. All remaining test subjects will be neutralized before exposure. Hale's awakening has accelerated Phase 5. Orders have been dispatched. Full wipe scheduled within 72 hours. Everyone froze. "They're going to kill every survivor," Amelia said, "and destroy all evidence," Gregory added. Luca opened a laptop. "That includes these files. Julian's drive gave us names, locations, and internal documents. But once they activate Phase 5, they'll scrub everything, people, records, labs. We have to go public," Gavin said. "Now." "No," Gregory said firmly. "We go strategic. If we leak the story, they'll call it conspiracy. But if we expose one name, just one, who's still active in government or pharma, we'll light a fuse they can't put out." Amelia looked between them. "Who?" Gregory turned to Luca. "Get me the dossier on Verena Cross." Luca blinked. "The pharma CEO. She's one of the richest women in the world, a philanthropist. She was also on the original advisory board of the Iris Protocol," Gregory said. "She runs the clean front. She's their mouthpiece." "If we can get her to confess," Amelia said slowly, "the whole network will collapse." "No," Gavin said. "We need more than confession. We need leverage. Something so dangerous they can't cover it up." Gregory pulled out a crumpled folder from his satchel. Inside was a single page, coordinates, a lab name, and a faded ID card. "They have a hidden lab still running, off the grid. It's where I traced Gavin's medical files. That's where the core data is. Live experiments, DNA backups, classified tapes. We get in, we win. Silence. Where is it?" Gavin asked. Gregory met his eyes. "Greenridge, Quebec, inside the abandoned mining facility near the lake." Gavin's face darkened. "That's where they took me when I was 9. Amelia reached for his hand. "Then we go back, together." The drive was long and silent. They left at midnight, using backroads and signal jammers. Amelia sat in the back with Gavin, who stared out the window, eyes full of ghosts. "I don't know who I am anymore," he said finally. "Gavin Hale doesn't feel real, neither does Elias." "You're both," Amelia said gently. "You survived. That's who you are." He nodded slowly. "That place, it was underground. I remember tunnels, cold air. I kept trying to scream, but my mouth wouldn't work." "I won't let them touch you again." He looked at her. "Why are you here, Amelia?" "You could have walked away 100 times," she paused. "Because after everything I've seen, what they did to you, to Gregory, to the other kids, I can't walk away. And because somewhere along the way, I started caring about you, both versions of you." His eyes welled, but he said nothing. When they reached the lake, a thick fog curled around the trees. The facility was buried under a fake logging site. Abandoned. Equipment, no cameras, no guards. But the silence was too clean. Luca took point, sweeping for traps. Inside the main shaft, they found a service elevator still active. Gavin hesitated before stepping in. The last time he'd used it, he was a child being dragged by masked men. This time he walked in on his own. The lab was like a tomb, steel walls, blinking red lights, rows of medical cots behind glass. Amelia's stomach turned. Some beds still had restraints attached. Gregory found the data servers. Luca hacked in. Gavin found a locked drawer with file after file marked Subject IR042, DNA stable, emotional deviation, high risk. His name was all over them. "Here," Gregory said. "Copy everything, surveillance tapes, logs, IDs, we're almost there." That's when the intercom crackled. "Well done," a voice said. "You came home." It was her, Verena Cross. A second later, the power surged, and Doors slammed shut around them. Gas hissed through the vents. "We're locked in," Luca said. "It's a trap." Amelia grabbed Gavin's hand. "We need to move, now!" Gregory backed up the final data files onto a portable drive, then slid it into Gavin's jacket. "No matter what happens, you get this out." Alarms blared. Steel shutters dropped over the exits. Luca shot out a control panel, triggering an emergency override. A side tunnel lit up, an old maintenance route. They ran. Behind them, fire surged in the lab. Gavin tripped. Amelia caught him. Gregory lagged, coughing. Just as they reached the tunnel's end, Gregory turned back toward a secondary vault. "What are you doing?" Amelia screamed. "There's a final file. I saw the code. It's the kill switch. You'll die in there." He looked at Gavin. "If I don't, you will." And then he ran. The door slammed behind him. The tunnel collapsed behind them just as Luca yanked Amelia and Gavin through a hatch and into the open air. The facility exploded. Smoke painted the sky black. They rolled into the dirt, coughing, sobbing. Gavin stared at the fire in silence. "Is he?" he asked. Luca slowly shook his head. Amelia reached into Gavin's coat, pulled out the drive Gregory had given him. It was warm, still intact. "This," she said, "is the key to ending all of it." And in the distance, the sound of sirens already. Coming cliffhanger recap. Gregory and the team infiltrate the underground lab, where Gavin was experimented on. They recover the core data that could expose the entire Iris protocol. But Verena Cross traps them in the facility. Gregory sacrifices himself to secure the final kill switch data, while the rest escape with the proof. The facility explodes, Gregory's fate uncertain. His voice broke the world. It was raining again, same as the night Gavin Hale was shot, the same as the night his father died saving him. But this time, he wasn't running. This time he was walking through the front doors of Verena Cross Pharmaceuticals, surrounded by reporters, cameras, protesters, and federal agents. And in his hand was the flash drive, the one Gregory Hale died to protect. The media swarm lit up the street like lightning. "Mr. Hale, is it true you were declared dead? Is the Iris protocol real? Are children still being experimented on?" He didn't speak. "Not yet, because when your voice is a weapon, you only fire once." Inside the building, Verena Cross stood behind reinforced glass in the executive boardroom, white hair flawless, smile polished. She had already denied everything, issued press releases, called Gavin a traumatized former subject with unverified claims. She didn't know what was coming. 48. Hours earlier, FBI Director Monroe stared at the decrypted files with his hands locked tightly under his chin. "You're telling me this protocol began in 1999, ran through multiple administrations, and targeted orphaned children for behavioral reprogramming?" Gavin sat across from him, pale but steady. "Yes, sir. Funded as black-budget research in trauma-induced neural rewiring. They weren't just testing drugs, they were trying to create human weapons." Monroe nodded toward Amelia, seated beside Gavin. "And you witnessed the facility?" "I did," she said. "The names match, the dates match. The signatures on the funding transfers, Verena Cross signed off on everyone." Monroe turned to the agents behind him. "Arrest her," he said, "and prepare a national press conference." Now Verena didn't move when the glass doors opened. Gavin walked in alone, ignoring the two security guards behind her. He placed a single sheet of paper on the glass between them. "Do you know what that is?" he asked. She glanced at it. "It was a death certificate with his name on it, signed by one of your doctors," he said. "Filed 2 weeks after I disappeared. You declared me dead because I was no longer useful." She raised a perfectly arched eyebrow. "You think the world will believe a traumatized lab rat over me?" He stepped forward. "I don't need them to believe. I just need them to see." He turned to the mirrored window and gave a small nod. The curtain dropped, revealing Monroe, journalists, and hidden cameras. Verena went white. "I recovered the tapes," Gavin continued. Every file, every child, every experiment, every blood sample and scream and heartbeat you recorded to make yourself rich. She reached for a panic button. "Don't bother," Amelia's voice echoed from behind her. "It's disabled." Verena spun. Amelia stood beside the federal agents, badge in hand. "You're under arrest," she said, "for conspiracy, human experimentation, obstruction of justice, and murder." Verena's lips trembled for the first time in 20 years. The next 48 hours shattered the world. News outlets ran the story non-stop. Iris Protocol exposed. Secret government project used orphans in human trials. Tycoon's sun rises. From the dead to bring justice. Verena Cross arrested in global pharma scandal. But it wasn't just the media. Survivors started speaking out. One by one, men and women who had been labeled troubled, mentally unstable, or missing came forward. They had stories, scars, names. The world listened and, for once, believed. Gavin stood in front of Gregory's grave that Sunday afternoon. The wind cold but calm. "I wish you could see it, Dad," he said softly. "You were right. The truth can destroy monsters. But it costs everything." He knelt and placed a photo beside the headstone. It was a picture Amelia had taken of the two of them at the lake before the lab went up in flames. "I used to think I was broken," Gavin whispered. "But you didn't raise a victim. You raised a fuse." Footsteps approached behind him. Amelia. She knelt beside him, resting her hand on his. "They exhumed Julian's body," she said. "DNA confirmed. He was your half-brother. He died protecting your trail." Gavin closed his eyes. "I owe him everything." "And Gregory's final upload, it included the kill switch," she continued. "The real one. Not just for the protocol, but for everyone who funded it." Gavin looked up. "The names?" Amelia nodded. "Dozens. Some resigned already. Others are under investigation. It's just beginning." He stood. "Let's finish it." 6 weeks later, Gavin sat in front of Congress. C-SPAN streamed it live. His voice shook at first, but then steadied. "I was 9 when they took me. They told me I was sick, that I was dangerous, that my memories were lies." He looked at the row of senators before him. None of it was true. I was a boy they wanted, to control. They used drugs, isolation, deprivation, because they believed human empathy was weakness. He paused. "I'm not the only one. Thousands were tested. Some didn't survive. Others never came back." His eyes burned with quiet rage. "I did," he turned to the cameras, "and I won't let them be forgotten." Months passed. Trials began. Verena pled not guilty, but the evidence crushed her. She would die in prison. Others followed. CEO resignations. Whistleblowers. The system cracked open. Gavin didn't return to his old life. He didn't want the money or the spotlight. Instead, he founded the Hale Foundation, a non-profit for abuse survivors, whistleblowers, and experimental trial victims. Amelia became its lead investigator. Luca joined the board. Together, they helped hundreds, then thousands, and when Time magazine put Gavin on the cover, they titled it simply, "The Boy Who Spoke." 1 year later, on a quiet morning, Gavin stood alone at the same care home where he once lay in a coma. He walked the halls slowly, breathing in the scent of disinfectant and memories. A nurse passed by, smiled warmly. "You visiting someone?" she asked. He looked at her. "No, I lived here. A long time ago." She tilted her head. "What happened?" He smiled. "I woke up. The end."